Hello, fellow writers. I am Lewis. That over there is Tolkien, and you have found the Scripturian Society.
Welcome.
For those of you like the 1.5 people that watch on YouTube, I'm sorry that it's kind of bright in here.
The 1.5 people. It's not a whole 2 people.
Yeah,
but
no.
There's got to be more than one.
On average, right?
Yeah.
I was noticing too last week. I tried to take like a little more effort to look nice last week, and I ended up looking kind of vampiric.
Ooh.
Because that's always what happens when I try to go hot. So I don't do that very often.
I have noticed every time. No, it's still very hot, but I have noticed even in college, every time that you would dress up or something, I'd be like strong vampire vibes.
Yep. I don't know why. I can't do anything else. It's
Maybe
like that TikTok sound with the 3 looks. That's one of mine. That's all I got.
That's so funny. I wonder if it's because you're really pale. I mean,
it's possible.
I don't know. But you don't typically wear like red lipstick or anything, do you?
No.
Or like, yeah, it's weird.
I think it's because the only eye makeup I know how to do is black.
Oh,
so
possibly.
It's just contrast.
That's very possible. I want to be good at like black eye makeup. I don't think I haven't done it since I was goth, and it wasn't like a good look then because it wasn't, like it wasn't elegant.
Right. It was goth.
It was goth. Yeah, exactly. So these days, see, I started out making the effort to look really cute on the podcast, and today I did put on concealer and mascara. Not that anybody can tell, but
I can tell. I can see you.
Oh, good. I look a little less haggard than I naturally looked when I awoke this morning. So that was all I was shooting for today.
It's an improvement.
Yeah, man. And I already showed you I've got a puff of hair that's sticking out underneath my headphones. I'm winning today. It's a winning day for me.
Curly hair fun times.
Yeah, for real. Well, for real names, that over there is Karissa, and hello. I am Ash. And like she said, this is the Scripturian Society, a podcast all about writing by writers for writers. And yeah, that's welcome. You've found your new club, everybody.
Yep. Whether you want to be here or not.
Yeah, you're in it for life now. The vampire over there, whether you want to be here or not.
Yeah, I mean, now that you've seen me and heard my voice, you can't leave.
That is terrifying, and I love it. Well, what have you been doing with your week, Miss Vampire?
I mean, not a whole lot. It is finally getting colder here in Arizona. So I have been cold.
So I have been cold. Like, what temperature are you talking?
I haven't looked. It feels maybe around 50 or 60.
Oh, that's amazing. We got one cold front, and it was like 50 to 60 during the day for like a week. And then all of a sudden it was like, just kidding. And it was like 98 degrees and 100% humidity. And it was like 90 today with like, at least, I mean, close to 100% humidity. Cause we keep expecting storms that like, they like kind of dance in a little bit and then they dance back out, and we're like, storm already. There's so much water in the air.
Just let it go.
Please just let it go. But I looked at the forecast, and next week we're supposed to get to highs in the 80s and lows in the 50s. So we're very, very slowly getting there.
Nice. Yeah. I don't know how long it will stay cold in Arizona. We tend to go rapidly back and forth between high and low when the seasons change.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But it's been kind of nice, it's kind of cold when I wake up and I get to like cuddle into the covers, and then I have to get up.
I do have to say, when in Arizona weather, when it gets cold, it's so like dry and crisp. It's exactly what you want it to feel like. Whereas in Austin, it's cold and it still feels kind of like just humid. North Texas is different. North Texas has lovely seasons and we get cold weather, but down in South Central Texas, it's just a little humid all the time, or it's a lot of humid, and there's no other option. So you don't, even when it's cold, it doesn't really feel crisp. You feel just wet.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not amazing.
Yeah. I'm definitely
I'm pretending
dry. So you're pretending it's okay.
I'm pretending everything is okay. I have gone through 2 candles of this giant magnitude so far this season. Because that's how I pretend. Yeah. This one is leaves scented. My other one is Fall Festival, and it is way better than this one, but I light them all the time so I can pretend that it's fall. because it is, but that it feels like fall.
Right. I love candles, and I'm currently burning down the last of my mahogany teak wood from Bath and Body Works, which is essentially the Abercrombie smell when you walk into the store. But I do love it.
It's hilarious.
People complain about it. They're like, it's so overrated. I'm like, I absolutely love that smell. I will be drawn into a van. I will date anyone if they smell like this.
Oh my God, you should not be displaying your Achilles heel so publicly.
Oh,
that is so funny. I don't know that smell. I never shopped brand name anything. I didn't really go to the store. I got all my clothes from like thrift stores. I do distinctly remember walking into Hollister at the mall once when I was a teenager and going, oh my God, what is that? Yep. And it was also really dark. And I was like, how am I supposed to see these clothes, man? And I left.
It's so true.
It was weird.
But I love it. I pretty much only went in to smell the candles I assume it wasn't a candle. It was probably some kind of perfume or cologne, but
yeah. Nice.
I always liked that it was dark because then you could hide from people.
So now you know, if you want to seduce Karissa, she will absolutely fall for you if you smell like Abercrombie.
Exactly.
That's so funny. Oh man.
I've also now started listening to Halloween music and reading some scarier books. So
nice.
getting into theme.
Nice. But we are doing Dracula for our next episode of that Pretentious Book Club. It's the first of a couple different Halloween books we're doing. So
have you read it before?
I have attempted it before on numerous occasions, and I have never gotten like more than 10 pages in.
Right.
So
it's very strange. It's definitely an older book because of the whole epistolary thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like I'm like 30% of the way through probably. And it's taken me a long time to get there. I don't find it that I'm not as good at classics. Like you're better at them, I think, than I am. And Kendall is definitely better at them than I am. I just don't enjoy them as much for the most part, unless they're like very witty, which is why I like, Jane Austen and Mark Twain. Like if it's very, very witty or very concise, Ernest Hemingway. So if it's not one of those things, I have a very hard time.
Yeah.
So I'm having a hard time, and it's interesting. It's almost like, it's weird. It's almost cinematic the way it's written. Like you could just see like stepping out into like the drive of a castle on like a cold, windy night, and there's, wolves howling, and it's all very well done. It's a very well written book. I'm just having a hard time, and it's just been like a lot of like corpses lately in the book, and I'm like, I'm not into this. Thanks though.
I don't remember what order things happen, but I remember when I read it in high school, and there's that scene where, is it like a gypsy woman is like stumbling through the snow with a baby and the wolves attack her or something like that. And I was reading it in the middle of the night, and that was the moment I said to myself, yep, I see why this is a horror book.
Oh my God. See, yeah, it really is a horror book. I, fun fact, wrote a screenplay adaptation of Dracula once. And
without reading it?
Yeah, without reading it. Because I'd seen a bunch of different adaptations of it. So I mean, I skimmed it. I've never done like a legitimate like read through for enjoyment of it. Right. So yeah. And it was like kind of like co-writing, like because the director like would basically talk through every scene, what he wanted to happen. So yeah, it was interesting. I think some of it was really well done and would make a great screenplay. But then it's one of those things where like when you ghostwrite, it was like ghostwriting. When you ghostwrite and the other person wants to put something in there that you would never put in, you have to put it in. So there was a few lines that I would be like, oh my God, no, please no. And he's like, no, I want this specific line. And I'm like, oh my God. But
it's kind of like when you're editing something for someone else and you slip a line out and you're like, they'll never notice, and then that's the one thing they notice,
and they're
like,
gone.
You're like,
I see you remove this really important part to me, and you're like, but sweetie, it was only important to you, and they're like, no, it's my book, and you're like, okay, I mean, you're right, it is. But
don't you want people to read it though?
Yeah, don't you want people to like it? Yeah. And then we actually did film it, and like a it was like a little like local like film group, so not like a like high budget anything or other. But there were a few times where the actors would come up to me and be like, do I have to say this one line? And I'd be like, I'm afraid I did not write that line. So you cannot ask me. Unfortunately, go talk to the director. You'll have to ask him because he put it in there. So I can't give you like a yay or nay on that.
Right.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, there's my anecdote. I should have saved that anecdote for the Dracula episode on that Pretentious Book Club. I'll do it all again. I don't know if we have any. Yeah, I'll have, I have so many. The thing is, I don't want to like hurt anybody's feelings. So I have to be careful. I don't know
enough.
if any of the people I worked with on that project listened to that Pretentious Book Club or the Scriptarian Society, but
Right.
I'm very public about the existence of these podcasts. So
It's
you never
true.
know.
It's not a secret.
Yeah, exactly. God, what day is it? Is it Wednesday?
Yeah. It's the 13th.
Is it?
Well, not when you guys are listening to this, but for us, yeah.
But for us, it is. Interesting. For y'all, it'll be the 15th. I just found out. Here's my fun update for the week. I just found out I have my like a performance review at work this Friday. And I am stressed about it because my boss is very particular. The thing is, he's so nice, but he's very detail oriented. So I look at my job performance, and either because I'm confident or arrogant, I'm not sure which one, I'm like, I think I did great. So, so I have to do it that Friday. I just had to do like a self-evaluation. And that's basically what my self-evaluation says. I think I was fantastic. I'm sure you're so glad to have me. But he's so detail oriented and kind of particular that I'm like, is he going to like highlight a bunch of things I didn't even notice? Does he hate my work performance? Like, you never know when someone is that particular. Right. So anyway, so now I'm anxious about that. I didn't know until today that I had a performance review coming up.
I mean, I guess that's kind of nice in the sense that you only have 2 days to stress about it.
This is very, very true. That was smart to not tell me until like the end of the day today.
Yep.
Then I was like,
this is going to sound weird. I've never had a performance review at any of my jobs because I either get laid off or leave before they come up.
That's so sad. I think that's true for a lot of people. Well, my last job I had for over a year and I never got a performance review. Mm-hmm. And then the job before that I had for almost 3.5 years. And I think I had one performance review. Yeah. They gave me a 25-cent raise. Nice. So, making the big bucks.
Of course. Like, really rewarding you for that quality work.
Yeah, really for that commitment. Absolutely.
I do think that last year was strange and performance reviews were probably put off because of the whole pandemic thing. So I think that's why I didn't get one at that job because I had been there a while.
Yeah. But I'm sure it was just not a priority last year. Performance reviews are so weird because when it's for a purpose, like deciding if you get a raise or something, or if you get a new job title, excellent. If you're just doing it and there's no possible benefit from it, I think it's actually kind of discouraging. Like, why would you just be like, you did great in these areas, you can improve in these areas, and off you go. You're like, okay. Like,
it doesn't feel very tangible, but fine.
No, exactly. So, I mean, I don't think that I'm going to get a raise or a job or a job title change or anything with this performance review because it's relatively recent, but yeah, but I feel like in the future, I feel like when you hit 6 months and especially like your yearly review, I feel like there should be some discussion of, do you get a new benefit? Do you get a new title? Do you get a raise? Like, what's going on? Because a year is like, that's a lot of your life to commit to a job.
True.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyways.
Right. Any other stories?
No, that's it. My week's not been very exciting or fun. It's another one of those weeks that's like, is every day a Monday or is every day a Friday? It's like a weird, it's a Mon Friday every day. And so I never know what's going on.
In my head, when you said that, I was like, why doesn't she just combine it to Monday? And I was like, oh, wait, that's already what the day is.
See, my brain kept like trying to like connect them like that. And it was like, nope. And I was like, Mon Friday. Got it. Excellent. Which sounds like French for my Friday.
It does. It sounds like mon frère, which is my brother.
my brother day.
My brother day.
Yeah. I felt bad. I was definitely in our last meeting today. I think I woke up and my eyes just did not want to stay open. So I kept like trying to like get up and then like snoozing the alarm because I just couldn't do it. And then it started happening halfway through the day. And I was like, oh my God, this is the hardest day ever.
Yep.
Anyway, so that's my complaints / stories for this week.
Cool.
I think that's all I got. What's our word of the week this week?
Yay, our word of the week is Hebetude. It means mental dullness or lethargy. So that's actually pretty accurate to you, apparently.
Hebetude?
Hebetude.
Hebetude.
Hebetud.
So I would be like, yeah, I've got the Hebetude this week. Well, I'm very Hebetude-y this week.
Why don't you ever use the actual word? You're always like, how do I turn this into an adjective?
there's very few things I love more than like using words the way they're not supposed to be used.
Yeah. On social media, I cannot think of another way to say writery content. I know that writery is not a word. So I just do like the dash Y. I'm like, this works. People know what I mean.
Yeah. I know, writer focused, writer curated. I don't
Writerish,
know.
still not a word.
see for the book stuff, they've created bookish is now a very popular term. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So writerish, I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know what's better, writery or writerish. Yeah. Vote, you guys. What do y'all think? Is writery or writerish better? Poll. Yeah, exactly. Writery or writerish.
Not a bad idea. I could do that. It's but yeah, so Hebetude. So I'm experiencing Hebetude, I guess would be a way to put that.
Ah, yes, I'm experiencing the Hebetude this week.
Yes. Okay.
I like to throw in those article adjectives where they're totally unnecessary. Woohoo.
What's next? Book recommendations?
I think book recommendations. What do you got for me? You always have good book recommendations. I feel like I'm always complaining.
I have not read anything this week. Well, what day is it? I guess technically this week I did. I'm starting to read scarier stuff. And I read, oh man, is it Darcy Coates? Is that her name? Apparently she writes a lot of horror stuff. And I bought a Kindle edition of a book called The Haunting of Ashburn.
Ha, it's something my like name.
Oh yeah. And it was very creepy. I don't know how I feel about horror books. Like horror movies are very common, but horror books are strange because this book had a couple of jump scares.
Oh, really?
And it's so strange for me to experience that in book form. I feel like that's really weird. Hard. But it was also so kind of creepy and just kind of strange. So I don't know if I liked it, but it was creepy for Halloween time.
Interesting. Yeah. I would definitely rather read a horror book than watch a horror movie on any given day. Because I can temper it in my own imagination to not be so like horrifying. Whereas on screen, they're just like, how horrifying can we be?
This book though, in this book, I don't really want to give that much away, but there's this thing trying to get into the house at one point, and she's very good at describing it in very creepy ways. And then there's this point where she realizes there's an extra door to the house that she didn't know about, and therefore it's been unlocked the whole time.
Oh my God.
And I was like, I think this is worse than a horror movie.
I'm going to scream or cry, and I'm not even reading the book. I don't want to read it. No, thank you.
Yeah. So if you guys like that sort of thing, Darcy Coates, I think that's her name. She seems pretty good. But
interesting.
I'm not an expert on horror books, so.
It's terrifying. Yeah. Nor am I. I feel like my brother was really into horror books for a while, and I think my husband would read them. He likes Dean Koontz, who writes a lot of pretty scary books. I don't know if he writes horror books specifically. I don't know if that's
thriller.
I honestly, I want to say the one that I started seems to very much be on the line between thriller and horror. And I haven't even finished it yet, but Hobby says it's pretty scary. Yeah. But super well written. Cool. Anyways, do you have any other book recommendations?
No, I haven't read a lot this week. I don't even know why. I haven't been doing anything else productive.
You've been making TikToks.
That's true. I have been doing that. And I cannot figure out the algorithm at all. I'm like, this is hilarious. And 8 likes. And then I'm like, this is all right. It'll be a placeholder, 80 likes.
Yep.
Like, guys, what do you want?
Yeah, I have no idea what people want. It's crazy. Oh, I do have one more book recommendation.
Okay.
Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Booley. That was last week's episode on That Pretentious Book Club. And you guys, it got 5 out of 5 pinkies up, which is not a lot of the books do. It is an all-time favorite now. It's very intense. I'm probably not going to read it more than once a year, but oh my God, it was so good.
Nice.
So highly recommend. It was amazing. She commented on one of our posts because we posted about it a bunch of times, and she just commented like a little heart. But I looked on her tagged post, and she's tagged in like a ton of stuff. So I'm sure cool. I was surprised she even looked at it.
That's like the time I posted about The Darkest Minds, and Alexandra Bracken liked my post. And I know she probably just goes through her own tags to like, but I was like, she knows me. We're going to be best friends.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, Angeline knows who we are. And I'm like, I'm sure she has no idea who we are.
Right.
It was a good book. Anyways, what is our theme this week?
Our theme, I'm trying to figure out how to sum up what it is. Essentially, you guys know how main characters in books oftentimes their major hobbies that they like to read. Well, we're going to talk
Yeah.
about other kinds of hobbies that might be better to give them.
Yeah. I think,
and why that's not a great thing to do all the time.
yeah, I agree. I think maybe we should start with why it's not a great idea.
Yeah. Well, okay. So first of all, by nature of me already reading the book, I already like to read. So there's really nothing you can say about it that I haven't already thought about.
It's true.
And I do feel like a lot of times having the main character liking to read is just an excuse for the author to have some kind of cool quote about how much they like reading.
Yes.
And it can work if that plays into the plot in another way. But if it's just for that purpose and it doesn't become relevant later.
Yeah.
I also think sometimes authors believe it will create an inherent relatability. And that's not always true, because
it's not true.
I don't know that sharing a hobby is enough for me to feel like a character is relatable.
No, it's true. And I mean, the thing is also, like, if it's a young adult or new adult character, okay, unless you have a reason to read, like you do a podcast about books, or you're Karissa, who, like, I mean, she's like the 1% with how much she just reads on her own in her adult life. Most young adult and new adult readers don't get to read nearly as much as they would like to. Like, they might read like a few books a year. I mean, so making that totally central to a character's personality or hobbies, actually, I think could make them slightly more unrelatable, or even like just like intimidating, like puts them on a different level. Because as great as that is when you're like in elementary or middle school, where you've got all the time you want to read, so you read through a bunch of books, it's just not possible for a lot of us later. Oh, and here's something that I was going to say that I was thinking about earlier today in regard to this. How about if in some cases we replace that hobby, that reading hobby, with a job? Have you noticed that in books and movies and TV shows, you almost never see these characters at work unless it's a show about work. Right. And you're like, when do you go to work? You have to go to work. Like, why don't, so instead of, like really like drilling down on this hobby that's not, it's A, not original, B, the way it's approached isn't exactly relatable, and C, it kind of seems like a cheap way to try to relate to your readers. Why don't we just replace that with the thing that is super authentic to all of us?
Yeah. And another reason authors probably do this is because they like to read, I would assume. So they know how to write it, but you should also know how to write a job. So
it's true. It's very true. And that's the thing too, that I was thinking about. I'm going to totally lose my train of thought. Oh yeah. So if you're like me and you're a first person writer for the most part, like you like to write in first person, or you have main character syndrome and you like to read, or you think of that as one of your main hobbies, then maybe your main character also has that main hobby. But it shouldn't be that way. Like, you need to be able to recognize, and I'm speaking to myself just as much to anyone else, that no matter how many similarities there might be between your main character and yourself, you cannot be totally similar in every way. You can't do it. It's a bad idea, because you do it once, and then any other book you write, you should not do it again, because
your main character should be different.
Exactly. So a really easy way to change up your characters is to change out their hobbies. Like, even if you pick a hobby you were interested in at another point in life, but maybe you didn't get super into. Like, I like to sew. I don't sew a ton. It takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of, money for fabric and equipment and stuff. So I don't do it a lot, but it's fun. And in another, life path, maybe I would have gone that way. Maybe I would have become like a seamstress or something. So, I mean, that's an easy way to like look for other hobbies that you know enough about to write about, but are still original enough that not every character is a cookie cutter version of the last character you wrote.
And I think part of the problem too, I was thinking about this with a lot of different genres. It's not even that some main characters can't read. Like, some people read. So some main characters, given the law of averages, should enjoy to read. Yeah. But it's that everyone seems to. Yeah. So it's the genre as a whole where it seems to be a problem. And I think this is across genres. I think romance novels do this. I think YA does this. I think the horror book I read, she was a freelance writer. It's like, this is that's not a super relatable thing for most people. Yeah. Unless, I guess, they read, although I don't necessarily think those are also connected. But it just seems like, because it happens so often, it becomes annoying. Yeah. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. It's that it's been done so many times that if you want your story to be original and you want your main character to be original, that is something you can change pretty easily and give them depth that's unique.
It's just such a simple thing that's become a cliche. Like, a lot of things that people call cliche, I actually think are tropes, and they're good if done the right way. I feel like this one has become a cliche.
Yes.
where I'm just like, use the reading's my favorite thing in the world cliche very, very sparingly, if at all. Or maybe it's for like a background character instead of your main character.
Yeah.
Or like they can like to read, but maybe that's not their big hobby, you know?
Exactly.
Like maybe it's not their primary hobby. I mean, even a couple years ago for me, I still highly identified as a reader and a writer, but I was working in a preschool. So my full-time job, my every day was spent going to work, coming home, lesson planning, looking up children's activities. Like, you know, so that's the kind of stuff that my world was just engrossed with. So it's okay to pull those things in. It doesn't, even if your character likes to read, that doesn't need to be like one of the defining characteristics about them.
Exactly. I do agree too with the background character thing. So to talk about my own book, two things that I can say with this. One, if you have a large cast of characters, which is going to be true in most third persons and also others potentially, odds are someone likes to read, because odds are someone likes to paint and someone doesn't like to do anything but watch TV, or
somebody likes sports. Inevitably, somebody likes sports.
Exactly. So if you have a big enough group, someone's going to like to read. And you can make that their character trait. And as a background character, it doesn't feel as annoying.
No,
because
not at all.
You're just not as focused on them.
Yeah.
And then another point is that my main character, she is a history buff. And so she really likes history. And that's the hobby I gave her.
Yeah.
And it does require that she reads things sometimes, but it's a very specific kind of niche interest.
Yeah.
That the books are just one means through which she learns about it, not the focus itself.
Yeah.
So she does end up reading sometimes, but then she would also maybe watch a documentary or you know, go on a, I don't know, treasure hunt. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Where the hobby itself isn't reading, but maybe books play into it in some sense. And that can be a way to make that work.
I think that's a good idea too. If you're like, well, I only like, you know, I really want to make reading the main, you know, her main thing or his main thing. Like I really just picture them reading. Well, maybe they're reading because they're studying something. Maybe their main hobby or their main interest is like some academic pursuit. And there's, you know, like a million different academic pursuits you could pick that would be original and interesting and could even play into the plot, because we want everything to support the plot somehow. So that's the other thing too, is like, don't make it a big deal that your character's a reader unless that somehow has something to do with the plot.
Yep.
I mean,
don't make it a big deal that your reader is anything unless it has something to do with the plot.
In fact, I could pull from Firekeeper's daughter for this example. She's really into hockey. Like she's really into hockey and it directly plays into the plot. She's also really into science. It plays into the plot directly, like super directly, both of those. And those are both of her things. Yeah, she probably reads too, like you would think based on her personality, but we didn't even hear about it because it wouldn't be relevant to the plot. So,
and I feel like a lot of people, given the right mood and, you know, whatever, would pick up a book and read. I mean, adamant non-readers are probably more rare than adamant readers because everyone wants to pick up a book every once in a while, once a year, once every couple years, whatever.
Exactly. Hobby says he likes to read, but he probably picks up a book like once or twice a year, honestly, because he plays video games instead. Right. So, you know, and that's the thing, everyone has other hobbies too. So also don't just give them one hobby. Even Donna's Firekeeper and Firekeeper's daughter, she had hockey and she had like science and academic pursuits, like those. She had two things, she had two worlds.
Right.
Yep.
I also think so. My favorite example of this is from Jane Unlimited, which is by Kristen Kishore. I think I have mentioned it several times and then I have never talked about it. So this is my chance.
The time is now.
Yeah. So this book is super cool. It's kind of weird. It's essentially this girl goes to her wealthy friend's house for some kind of vacation. And there are so many family members there. And there's this scene toward the beginning where they're all gathered in one room and they all go in different directions. And then it goes into sections where she follows each family member and the genre changes. So like she follows this guy and it's a sci-fi book. Suddenly she realizes there's this portal somewhere. She follows this other person and it's a horror story. There's a ghost. She follows the other person and it's a mystery or whatever. And all of these initial details from the beginning of the book are interpreted in different ways depending on the genre. So it's a really cool book and you guys should check it out. But her hobby is that she makes umbrellas, which
is so interesting.
That's the coolest thing. And I think
so cool.
Why this works so well is we all know what umbrellas are, but I doubt any of us have really thought about the people that make them.
I have never ever once thought about how an umbrella is constructed or who makes them.
And so every different kind of genre that she experiences in this story, she makes a different umbrella and she uses a different umbrella. And those umbrellas are kind of this thematic representation of that segment of the story.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's super cool. And I think if you look at a hobby that way, it's not necessarily that her knowledge of umbrellas later comes up.
Yeah.
But it is a symbol. It's this mark of, okay, we know we're in a horror story because this is the umbrella she's inspired to make.
Yeah.
And now we know we're in a fantasy story because this is the umbrella she wants to use. So that's another thing you can do with hobbies. You can make them a symbol of the general theme.
It's true. I think hobbies also need to be consistent with the setting. So if your book is historical and in this time in history, a character of your character's class would not be literate, then reading should not be there. There should be no crazy workaround. Like their, rich uncle taught them how to read, unless it's relevant to the plot somehow. Like, don't just try and make it work. Like if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Give them, maybe they make candles. Maybe they're the best candle maker in the land.
Right?
Like that's fine. Just do a different thing. Like regardless, that could be historical. It could be because you've set up a fantasy world where, it has like a similar like historical hierarchy in regard to like academics. So, or like access to education. So I think that's the thing that gets overlooked a lot too. Like if your character is a peasant girl and her family has no education and she has no way to get an education, then none of her hobbies should be hobbies that require a level of education. It could be something totally different or creative. Maybe she's a seamstress because, that's a trade.
A useful skill.
It's a useful skill. Maybe she makes cheese. Maybe she makes super awesome cheese.
Ooh, I like that one.
I know, because then I'm like, what if the king is like, you know what? I want the best cheese in the land. Somebody bring me the best cheese in the land. And she's like, I make the best cheese in the land. Relevant to the plot, consistent with the setting, unique, and it's still creative. If you want to express that your character is creative, there are many other ways to do it than saying they're a reader. There's a lot of creative things you can go do with your life,
The ironically good example of this is ACOTAR, A Court of Thorns and Roses.
I was thinking about that too.
Yep. Yeah. And I hate these books for so many other reasons, but I do appreciate that she's not a reader and that she's illiterate on top of that.
Yeah, I like that too.
A layer that is kind of cool.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I was listening to an audiobook. Let me find it. Actually, if you like A Court of Thorns and Roses, people, you probably will like this book, which I didn't realize. I mean, I think it's way better written. I think the plot is way better. But it's called The Bird and the Sword by Amy Harmon. And the characters, well, she can't read or write because she was never taught how to, but then she does eventually learn how to write basically. And it like triggers her magic and stuff. So the way she becomes it becomes her thing, but only because it's entirely relevant to the plot. Yeah, exactly. So it has a purpose. We get to see her whole journey into learning how to write and learning what the different words mean. And the book is largely about her relationship with words. So yeah, that, and then of course with the super hot guy.
Yeah, of course. And of course. I do really think if it's that type of scenario, it can really work. So I don't want to make it sound like your reader can't, or your main character, gosh, that's really easy to confuse.
I know.
That your main character can't ever like to read, or that they can't ever like to write, because if it plays into who they are, then that's important. And you do want to highlight that. Yeah. But don't shoehorn it into a character that otherwise wouldn't.
Yep.
I do think, I don't know if this is an example of this. Have you ever read the Lux series by Jennifer Armentrout?
No, but I've heard of it.
Okay, so I like them. They're fun, but the main character is she a book blogger? It's something like that.
Oh, interesting.
It never comes up again.
No.
It's just like she's just doing it on the side as supernatural stuff is happening around her, and it never comes up. Now, I have not read the last book. Does it come up in the last book and magically make sense? Maybe. But for a good 2 books, it's just not her focus.
Interesting.
And I'm like, gosh, it would be interesting if she took knowledge from books she'd read about aliens, because it's about aliens, and it was accurate, or it was super misleading. That would make sense.
Interesting.
But it just doesn't come back
book
around.
About aliens, the main character is juggling a job at a coffee shop to pay her bills while working an unpaid internship with an extraterrestrial research agency. And I feel that both of those hobbies, I mean, one is a job and not a hobby, support the plot.
Right.
Because it's about aliens.
Exactly.
And having a job is just life, you just have to have a job. Yeah.
I don't know if this fits in the flow of the episode, but I came up with this analogy and I want to share it and I want to see if people agree.
I love analogies. Do it.
So I think that authors giving their main characters the main hobby of reading has the same energy as rappers who brag about their rapping prowess in songs that are about other things.
That's amazing.
Does that make sense?
That's exactly what it feels like.
It's like, this rap song is about death and, all these kids dying. And then also I'm the best rapper that ever existed, but back to the story.
Yeah.
And you're like, why are we talking about this? That's what
it's
main characters in books reading usually feels like.
Yeah.
It's, hey, also I like to read because reading is cool, kids. Back to the show.
And you're like, I know that's why I'm here is because I am a reader.
You are preaching to the choir. I am not the person that needs to hear that because I am already here.
Same with the rappers and their songs. You're like, if I'm listening to your song, I know.
Exactly. I'm already a fan. I get that you're good. That's why I'm here. Thank you for telling me something I already know. I don't know.
Exactly.
And I think it's about being quote worthy. People just want to have a cool quote. And I'm like, I like quotes. I like it when you can kind of sum up an idea in a quote. It's fun, but it also has to make sense.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be about books. You can God, I mean, the best books have analogies that have nothing to do with books or reading and they're about real life. I will once again refer to Firekeeper's daughter.
No, the quote you posted on Instagram or whatever. Gosh, it's such a good quote.
Oh my God. And that was I had 10 quotes to choose from. That book is so quotable, and she's not a reader or a writer or even traditionally artistic in any sense. And yet these quotes are these are the quotes that you want to write in your book, these are as good as a book quote gets, a bunch of them. So she did amazing, and none of them had to do with reading or writing.
Right.
So yeah, there's a line like that in the Infernal Devices, Clockwork Angel. There's a line in there where I believe it's when what's her name is studying to go imitate the vampire woman. And
I know exactly the scene you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And she says something about the power of books or whatever. And I'm like, okay, yes.
Doesn't it just feel kind of out of place?
Yes. And it bugs me. And it's a lot of people's favorite quote because it is very quotable. And I love that book. I think I gave it 4.5 pinkies up or something. I really love that book. But that one line sticks with me, and it doesn't stick with me because I like it. It sticks with me because I'm like, well, true, but why is this in here?
Right.
None of these characters are big readers. They know how to read. Maybe they enjoy picking up a book every now and then. But this is it's not central to the plot in any way. I'm not sure why, you can tell that the author put a lot of thought and effort into this one line.
And then organized it so that it kind of made sense in the flow of the story, but then also doesn't come back around.
It felt largely the whole purpose of the scene was to put the quote in. And I love her writing and I love that book. Just that one scene bugs me.
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, I don't think it comes back as important. If you have a character and you want to make it clear that they like to read, because at the end of the book it's gonna come up that they need to do research or something that is in a book is going to play into something, then okay, put that in. But if it's just you getting up on your what is it called, soapbox?
I was gonna say high horse, but
it also works, getting up on your soapbox, then write a story about books. Although I will say I don't tend to like books that are about readers, the books that are described as quote a love story to reading or a love story to book or whatever, or books. I'm always like, that sounds so boring. I read because I don't want to be in the real world.
Dude, exactly. That's the thing too. You're like,
don't take me out of that.
Exactly. I'm not reading to read a person like me. I'm reading to read about a different life and a different person. And
I'm already in my own head all the time. If I liked it in here, I would stay.
But no, I wouldn't be reading this book. It's exactly true. That is so funny.
I think I haven't read it. I think the Starless Sea is described as that, Aaron something. And then the 10,000 Doors of January was described that way. And I read it and I was like, man, I think I'm going to really like this. And I didn't love it. And it's not that it was an unexpected book. It followed kind of its synopsis pretty well.
Yeah.
It just said reading in and of itself doesn't really matter. It's what else you get out of the reading.
Exactly.
It's the medium, it's the mode, it's the vehicle for the thing that matters. And so talking about books and reading without anything else behind it is kind of pointless.
I agree. I think one of the best examples of a character who, reading is their thing, but it's not hammered home all the time. And it just adds so much to the character and therefore the plot is Elizabeth Bennett, Pride and Prejudice.
Mm-hmm.
She's a reader. And in the book, not in the book, in the movie, she's carrying books around constantly. So it's made very clear that she's a reader.
Right.
But in the book itself, it only mentions that she's a reader like a few times.
Mm-hmm.
But she's really more presented as an intellectual badass.
Yeah.
And it's partly because she reads so much. And we can infer that from reading the book, but you don't have to. Everything about her screams, I'm a reader, She
speaks and you're like, this is a girl that reads.
Yeah. You're like, this is
not like she's constantly
woman.
telling you. Right.
Exactly. So they don't constantly talk about it. I think there's only maybe a couple quotes in there that are about it. Mm-hmm. And the rest of it is not. It's really just about, she spends most of the book, talking, taking care of her sisters and stuff, mm-hmm. and social drama-ing. And
yep.
I mean, that's about it. So, and she's one of the most iconic bookworms of all time. So, yeah.
Kind of another example of that would be Hermione Granger.
Yeah.
Is not the main character, but she is a side character who obviously loves to read, but it comes into play so much.
Yeah.
She's their encyclopedia of magical knowledge, especially for Harry, who hasn't been in the world his whole life.
Yeah. She reads for a purpose. She reads for an academic purpose. Exactly. Mm-hmm. If your character is going to read, if that's going to be a thing about them, it needs to be a purpose that affects the plot. That's exactly what Hermione Granger's was. Without her and her book reading, oh my God, would they have been screwed?
Exactly. But yeah, and it feeds into a lot of things about her. She's not just a reader and then all these things that don't seem to go well with it. Everything about her is, this is the kind of person that likes to learn, that likes to read. And she's mostly a nonfiction reader, which is
That's
different.
True. It is different. I think like you just made a good point too, is that when you have a character who has one hobby, it tends to indicate something about their overall personality. So it should all, go together. I mean, Donna's Firekeeper and Firekeeper's Daughter is a good example of, she's really into science and math and sports. So she's good at all the STEM stuff and the stuff that's been traditionally male dominated. So for her, that gives her right away a very defined personality. Mm-hmm. And while it's great to usurp that stuff, that's awesome too. But I think what Angeline Booley was doing was trying to give us a very specific picture of her as a person and trying to give her this specific picture. And that was a great way to do it. So whether you're going with traditional stereotypes or bucking traditional stereotypes, a character's hobbies should all kind of be connected in a way that relates to their personality. I am a creator. Everything I do in some way is creating. I write to creating. I sew, I make podcasts. Everything that I used to make jewelry, everything that I do, I cook, is all creative based. That's what I do, but that's not what a lot of people do. Other people have other things that they do. So, I mean, it's just Javi, I think, is a very social person. He it's weird. He's video gaming literally because he's playing games he doesn't even like, because he's on his headset with his friends and he's making new friends constantly. He has friends that he's been friends with for 8 years that he's never met in person, and they send each other Christmas gifts. Mm-hmm. He likes army stuff because of the brotherhood. Everything about him, he'll read books and he'll play games and watch movies because someone else that he cares about is doing it and he wants to relate.
It all fits together to the social aspect.
Exactly. So for him, that's a primary part of his personality. Everybody has it. I think you have a more solitary
I was going to say, on the flip side, I have hobbies that I'm a loner. I've loner hobbies.
Yeah.
I read
exclusively hobbies you can do alone.
Exactly. I've started to I'm learning a language, which is a little more social, but I'm doing it by myself.
Yeah.
I am kind of trying to learn calligraphy, all this kind of stuff. They're loner hobbies. It says something about me. It's not, I have all these loner hobbies. And then also I randomly like to I can't think of the social hobby. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
What do people do when they go out?
I go clubbing. Yeah, I have no idea. I don't either.
But yeah, so it's they all kind of make sense together. And yeah, with Javi, it's a certain variety of things, but it all comes back to something in the middle. For you, it all comes back to something in the middle.
Yeah, exactly.
So your character can have kind of maybe a strange mix of hobbies, but the motivation behind them
needs to all be the same. Yeah,
that's a good point.
Very true. I think with that, if it matches the setting, it matches your character's personality, and it adds to the plot, you're good to go, whether it's reading or anything else. But it has to fit the setting. It has to fit your character's personality and motivations, and it has to add to the plot. If it doesn't do all of those things, either rework it or change it. Otherwise it's just, it doesn't need to be in there. And I'm a big proponent of, if it doesn't need to be in the story, take it out of the story.
I think too, just food for thought for those of you that are thinking, well, my main character really does need to read. That can totally work, but it is a little safe. It's a little easy.
Yeah.
So if you want to really branch out and you want to make a really kind of iconic character, like give them the hobby of making umbrellas,
Yeah.
the hobby of bird watching, give them the hobby of, I don't know, refurbishing old furniture, something that people understand, but not a lot of people do necessarily or know how to do, just to give them depth. It'll get you out of your comfort zone, and that can pretty much only be good.
Yeah, that is, it does feel like the safe choice when it's not for a specific reason. It does feel like, oh, this character is a reader or writer. It feels like the safe thing because it's what you know. And they say, write what you know, which is true in a sense, but you could also like write about what you wish you knew. Like the character in my Alien book is a badass scientist lady, and she's very smart and she knows a lot about physics. Do I know anything about physics? No. So when it comes to scientific scenes, do I write detailed conversations that were like regarding scientific concepts and stuff? No, I don't. I just gloss over it all. I just give just enough detail. I looked up the names of a couple pieces of equipment that would be in a lab like that, and I dropped those in there, and that's it. Like, don't go into detail about something you don't know, but also you don't have to go into detail about something you don't know.
Or do some research and really get to know it. So like my history buff main character, I got good grades in history, but it's not my favorite thing. So every once in a while, I'm like, I have no idea what happened in Asia in the 1700s. Now I have to look it up to give her a cool fun fact. Yeah. And then you learn things. And even if I don't end up using them, I have so much knowledge in my head from things that I thought I would use that I never did.
It's true.
It's really, there's no downside to that.
I know so much about folklore, especially Irish folklore for that reason. It's that honestly, write what you know is such a paradox, because as soon as you research it, now this is a topic you know. So write what you know is really a much broader, it's really not as constricting as you think. If it's a concept you just don't understand at all, I guess that's when it would apply. Yeah, but other than that, shy away from that, maybe, at least for your main character. But for anything else, if you like can teach yourself it enough that you have like a well-rounded character in that regard, then now you know that topic, right? Sure, write what you know, but don't get so caught up researching that you don't actually write, because I have certainly done that many times.
I try to do, this is what I do when I decided that my main character was going to be a history buff and that I knew nothing about history. I took a day and I just looked up a bunch of fun facts and I wrote them all in a document. So then when I'm actually writing, I can just refer to the document and it takes like 4 seconds.
Nice. That's really smart. I had an entire notebook that was full of handwritten notes about Irish folklore, which was, I wish that I had in retrospect. I do like to write things down by hand because it helps me remember them better. But I wish I had put like sticky like tabs that said like, like different categories of folklore, because it would have been easier to go back and find stuff. As it is, still when I go back and I'm like flipping through every page and it's just chaotic notes, because my notes are only chaotic always. And I'm like, God, where is that? I know I studied Selkies. Where is the information about Selkies?
Show me
the Selkies. Yeah.
So another example, I think we're coming up with so many good examples that it almost sounds like this isn't a problem, but I do think a lot of main characters in books read. A good example of how to build in hobbies also is sci-fi does this a lot, where everyone's really good with fiction. Everyone is good with computers or medicine or something. And so I can understand why someone, I understand why someone would like computers. I understand why someone would be interested in anatomy and medicine, but I'm not. So having the characters that are interested in it is very cool. It gives them depth. And then it's also a useful skill for later on.
Yep.
So
that's true. Yeah. I'm trying to think of like a setting or like a genre where, reading and writing would be the norm. I'm thinking like, like a lot of like books that are set in like private schools or something, maybe, but then the ones that are standing out to me are books like, what's the one, the spy book? If I told you I love you, I'd have to kill you.
Oh, I never read those.
Oh, girl, they're fun. They're just like really fun. And I mean, that was a spy book, so it wasn't technically just private school, but she wasn't like a reader. That wasn't her thing. The Percy Jackson series, he starts out in a private school and then he goes to it's still a kind of like schoolish environment, the whole time. And Percy Jackson himself is not a reader. In fact, he struggles. So
he has kind of that Feyre vibe where he doesn't enjoy reading because there's a reason behind it.
Exactly. But is there a character who does? Yes. Annabeth. Absolutely. She does. We know that she does. I think that can also be fun. Like if you're like looking for a way to create more conflict for your character in their world and their life is like make them kind of a bad fit and everyone else around them is a good fit. Like just for like this setting. That's not a bad way to create some tension. I mean, don't make it like it feels like they should be in a different book altogether, but making them kind of a misfit, like they don't have all the same hobbies as the other characters.
Or even
That's
just between two characters, friends, love interests, whatever, where something that one of them loves is an actual potential issue or stumbling block for the other.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, Annabeth obviously has the whole, it's dyslexia, but it's like the Greek thing. Their brains are wired to read Greek. She got over that. But Percy has this whole, like, I just can't read well because it's really hard for me. And so what she loves is not just something he doesn't care about, but something that's hard for him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I think giving your character like weaknesses, especially weaknesses that are other characters' strengths, is fun. I mean, it's a well-rounded story. It's also a lot of it gives you a lot of room for like emotional development for your character. Yeah, I just think there's a lot you can do with that. Ooh, I'm
thinking the idea of like someone that's terrified of doctors that becomes friends with a doctor or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, where it's not just a matter of that's not my thing, but you go ahead, but also a direct conflict.
Yeah, stuff that's in direct conflict is fun.
It is.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so you keep mentioning the Firekeeper's daughter. I'm just gonna jump around here a few times. The way that you describe her, did you ever watch Ice Princess with Michelle Trachtenberg?
Absolutely, I did.
Okay, every time you describe this main character, I'm like, it's the girl from Ice Princess because she's all physics minded. You know, she likes ice skating.
There are very strong similarities.
Yeah,
there are very strong personality. You would like the Firekeeper's daughter. I mean, it's intense, absolute, definitely like some trigger warnings towards the end of the book. But oh my gosh, that book is amazing.
Cool. Well, I guess if I liked Ice Princess, it sounds like
you
I'll
like
Ice
Princess. You'll like it. It's good. That's funny. I hadn't thought about that. It does have very strong Ice Princess vibes.
Yep. I weirdly can't remember the main character's name. I just remember Michelle Trachtenberg, which is so rare. I don't know any actors and main characters stick in my head so well. It is very weird that that's the opposite right now.
I don't remember anyone's name, whether they're a character or whether they're a celebrity. It was Lewis, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I literally questioned myself about that. My first thought was Clark, and I was like, nope. Clive Staples Lewis, correct?
Yes, I'm Clive. My name rhymes with Jive.
Jive. Clive. I don't know if you guys knew that. Did we say that in the podcast that C.S. Lewis is Clive Staples Lewis?
I think I did.
I
just think that's so funny.
It is so funny. I can remember that. I've given you a bunch of names. I'll remember the names I give to people.
Right.
Not their, big name their parents gave them. Yeah. Oh God. That's funny. Well, do you have anything else to say on this topic?
I think I got everything out. I got my analogy out, which was my main thing. Tell me what you guys think about the whole rappers singing about themselves. Does that have the same energy to you guys as authors writing in characters that like to read?
It is very possible that none of our listeners listen to rap.
that is possible. It didn't occur to me. I don't listen to a lot of rap because I don't like curse words, but I like the general style of rap. Like I like NF. And I don't know, like the Christian rappers because they don't curse. And
there are two reasons that I don't like rap. If a rap song does not have these two things, then I'm actually cool with it. And Hobby listens to rap, so like it's good to know. These are like I can do it. If not for, I don't like it when they sound like they're just pissed, like they just sound angry because it always sounds like threatening. It doesn't just sound like I'm upset. Like Avril Lavigne.
I'm gonna murder people.
That and violence against women. I hate that in songs. I'm like, that's cool. I'm just gonna sit here and have an honest to God panic attack, like every freaking time. Excellent work.
I know I don't know. It kind of creates this society is weird because we're all like, we should respect women, and then the songs that are at the top of charts are like, do you guys see the problem? Because I see the problem.
Because I see the problem. It's so weird. It's so weird.
Yep.
Oh my God. And not to like get super into it, but I know some chicks too who over the years I've heard them to guys who like rap be like, oh my God, I love rap. I listen to it all the time. And I'm like, there's no way in hell you like this song because it is only demeaning and aggressive and actually threatening to women. There is no way in hell that you like this song. You are just saying it because they like this song.
Right.
Like you're just trying to get in with them. So like,
or they just haven't thought about it that hard, which is potentially worse.
which is
like, do you not hear that this is a problem?
Exactly. Rap is so tricky because it's all words. So it has the potential to be amazing. And
I
like,
know, when it's done well, it's so good.
Exactly. And Eminem, I have mixed feelings about because some of his songs are just, I just hate them.
He has some cool wordplay.
Yeah.
And then
lyrically amazing. Lyrically so talented.
Yeah. The substance of his songs. I'm like, dude, really? This is all you can think to say? You have such cool skills. Why don't you say something meaningful?
Dude, for real. That's stuff he says. Yeah.
That's why I like NF a lot, because I think he has some cool things to say. And then he says them in a cool wordplay way without offending everybody with a brain.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's so frustrating. Yeah.
Yep.
I think Eminem just sounds very bitter and rude, especially in regards to women. So I'm just like, you're still bitter, my guy. This just shows a lack of personality development in yourself.
What about the character growth here?
Yeah, where's your character growth, bruh? But lyrically, I have to admit, amazing.
He does have some skills. It's true.
Yeah.
And it always feels like a waste when people are really good at something and then they don't use it for good things. I'm always like, man, why?
Use your power for good. Use it for good. Or at least like be neutral. Anyways, this is just my soapbox again to say, don't ever act like you like something that you don't, because you are perpetuating the problem itself. So this is across the board, rap and otherwise. Don't act like you like something you don't like.
My brain went to the caveat, unless you are trying to earn your way into a secret society to spy on them and ultimately take them down.
Well, then you should lie. It's a given. Yeah, absolutely. We've all been there. I mean,
I don't know why I felt the need to say that. I just wanted to clarify that is the one exception.
Everyone's like, yeah, duh.
Someone of our like 10 listeners is like, that's why I'm here. They've caught me.
Like, oh no.
I don't like writing. I'm just here to take them down.
Oh God. Yeah. I don't know what you're going to get out of taking this down, but you're welcome to give it a shot.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. I mean, I have nothing to give you. I have nothing.
We're not that high off the ground. If we fall, we're just gonna scrape a knee, maybe.
Yeah. So. I mean, so go for it, really.
Yeah.
You do you, boo.
Yeah.
So what are you writing this week?
Oh gosh, Ash, I have done so many things writing wise this week, and I feel like I have accomplished nothing.
Oh my God.
Done nothing productive. So did we talk about NaNoWrimo last week?
Yes. I don't know if we did.
I think I mentioned that I was going to send you stuff. Anyway, I sent Ash a couple ideas for me to write for NaNoWrimo. So she sent me her response and I was like, cool, I'm going to start going through it. So then I opened up the document that I had already kind of started the first couple chapters. And this is the story that if you listen to episode 3, that I originally started in first person and then I had to switch over to third. I only switched over about a page to third. So I have like 80 pages worth of first person that I now have to transfer into third person. I thought it was complete. It is not. So I started that and then I got really exhausted. So I stopped.
Aww.
Then I went over to the book 3 of the book series I've been writing my whole life. And I think I mentioned this too. I've been changing the POV for one of the characters. I'm switching over. So I started that and gosh, that is also exhausting.
Oh my God. That is all hard stuff.
I know. So I got about 2-3 chapters done. I do feel now like I have a good grasp of what I'm going to do and the information that needs to stay and why this other character would be a better fit. So I feel like I have it figured out, but it was a lot of writing 2 sentences and then taking a 4-hour break. And then I also started writing a new book.
Oh my God, this is so much progress. It's just that it's like the little steps progress. It doesn't feel like you're going to, but you are. This is all important stuff.
I guess it's true. I have the first chapter done and I really like the first chapter. It's really cool. I lied. I do have another book recommendation. I'll mention that in a second.
Okay.
I read this book and it inspired me for the new book idea. So I wrote out the first chapter and I really like it. And I guess it's just because it's 3 different things in like 7-8 days. It feels like I haven't achieved much in any of the areas. If I had picked one, I might feel like I was making some progress, but long term,
I so get that. Yeah. That's me for sure. 100%.
Yeah. So my book recommendation that I totally forgot about until just now. Ali Condi wrote a book. She was the one that wrote Matched, for those of you that think that sounds familiar. This book called The Last Voyage of Poe Blythe. And I read it initially because I had read Fable and it kind of seemed like it was going to have a nautical theme. And I was wrong. It's not really nautical. It's this ship that is dredging this river of gold. So it's kind of a steampunk thing. And oh my gosh, this book was so good. It's a standalone, and the main character is just set on revenge the whole time. And for some reason, that's really satisfying to me.
You're so funny. Oh my God.
Someone she loved was killed. And so she's like, great, I'm going to spend the rest of my life getting vengeance for this person, and it's going to be fine. And so she has no friends. She doesn't care about anyone else because this is the only person she cared about. And she's just straight up unconditionally set on destroying this group of people.
I love
and I
that.
find that so intriguing. And I really liked it. So now I'm writing a book about revenge, which is strange because I haven't been wronged enough in my life for that to really make sense. But apparently I have a lot of anger that I want characters. Because here's the thing. I'm just going to rant about this for a sec.
Absolutely.
I know that on a moral level, forgiveness is good. And I will die on that hill. Forgiveness is a good thing. It's not good for you. It's not good for the other person to not forgive.
I agree.
But I get annoyed sometimes when main characters are bent on revenge, and then they kind of come around to forgiveness at the end. Part of me is like, can we just get a book where this character goes through with it and just murders everyone and takes full revenge and then just like lives beyond that?
Thinks you would like the John Wick movies.
Really? I've never really considered those.
Oh girl, it's exactly what you were describing.
Okay, cool. Maybe that'll satisfy me. But I know that it is correct to forgive, but it's not always satisfying because then they're like, they're not real villain. They're not real people.
See,
So
I feel satisfied when we hit a
forgiveness.
forgiveness ending. I'm like, hooray, mental health.
Okay, if it's a secondary goal, yes.
Yeah.
If it's the primary goal,
I
just want to see what happens. I just want to know, what do you as an author think would happen if someone fulfilled those goals, not if they were turned back at the last second.
We would have the John Wick movies.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, you would. You should at the very least just watch the first one. You're gonna be so satisfied. I mean,
good. I just want to see havoc wreaked for a moral reason, even, because it's always someone you love died. And if you take revenge, then you're just taking that person from another person that'll be hurt. And I'm like, I still want to see it.
You're like, still though, but still.
Yeah. So I'm still mad. I still want you to pay for what you did to me. I just like that. So that's my goal.
Yeah. In Lost, which I watched in college with y'all, spoiler alert. So you find out that Kate, set her house on fire because her father was abusive and he was inside, like passed out drunk on the bed.
Satisfying.
That was the one time ever where I've been like, seems like a good plan to me. I mean, no qualms here.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's the one time where I've been like, yeah, no regrets. No regrets here.
I read Burning by Danielle Rollins, which is I think I mentioned it in another episode, but anyway, it's these girls that are in a correctional facility, juvie correctional facility. And so some of them have committed like these terrible crimes. And one of the girls is in there because she snuck up on her stepfather in the middle of the night and stabbed him in the leg. And there's this whole implication that like he was abusing her. And I'm like, why didn't you kill him?
You're like,
you're going to go to prison anyway. Might as well go for the kill shot.
Oh my God, that is so funny. I'm pretty sure the sentence for a stab wound in the leg is way lower than for murder.
I mean, that's probably true, but she's a minor.
This is true. She is a minor. And if she's being abused, one could argue self-defense.
Exactly.
Yes. This is very, very true.
Anyway, I apparently just really like that aspect in books. So it always kind of frustrates me.
The new book you started, did you say is a full revenge?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to spoil too much, but essentially this character is going to be full revenge and she's not going to back off at the end because it's the right thing to do.
Interested to see this. I also don't do a lot of like characters killing characters things, I prefer to let their consequences bring them down, which is my entire approach to parenting. I feel that for the most part, there's no need to instill like, to set up a punishment for your child, like unless like there were no consequences to the action. So basically, if your kid does something they're not supposed to, and now they've burned their hand on the stove, you're like,
that is the consequence.
There you go. You won't do that again. And then if they do something they should have gotten a natural consequence for, but for some reason that natural consequence just didn't happen, that's when you can like be like, okay, some kind of punishment to, go in place with the consequence. But that's how I take out characters in books too, is I'm like, were you bad? Were you a bad person? You know what?
Go sit in the corner.
No, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to arrange it so that fate by natural consequence takes you out of the equation.
Yeah. Yeah,
which
that
for
makes
me
sense.
is satisfying because that's the way I wish the world worked.
I do also like that. It's just,
Yeah.
gosh, there are just so many characters that they turn back at the last second. And I
That's
just don't
true.
feel like it's consistent with their characters.
Yeah, you're like, we've been on this entire journey with one goal. If that is
Yeah.
the primary goal, I
If
can
you
see how that
are-
would be frustrating.
Yeah, if you are cold-blooded, you don't turn back at the last minute.
No.
So either you've been lying or
especially if you've already killed a bunch of other people, already done a bunch
Yeah.
of bad stuff. You're like, why is this different now with the worst of the
Exactly.
worst? Like,
Mhm.
come on. That's fine.
So anyway, that's my book recommendation if you guys like that stuff. It was really good. I just thought it was very fast-paced and it was a very cool idea that I hadn't seen done before. So I liked that. I liked that. I liked it.
I like that. I like that.
But yeah, so my writing this week has just been kind of all over the place.
Mhm.
Also, the sun is chasing me across this
I can see that
screen.
you've been inching away from this. You
Like-
are a vampire. You've been inching away from the sun this whole time.
So
That's
anyway, I'm
funny.
just slowly going to the corner. Anyway,
can
Ash,
see that.
what has your writing been like this week?
So I've decided I am going to do NaNoWriMo. I think I got
Yay.
Kendall on board to do NaNoWriMo too.
Yay!
We had a day this week where she came over and she used my free write to work on her book, and I was just doing my normal job. But it was nice
job,
to like,
job.
yeah, because I work from home, so it was nice to like not
Because
be
I
alone.
work from home.
I work from home, you know, as we do. And I did not write anything this week, but I did finally fix the issue with the Kindle Direct Publishing cover creator. I fixed the file, and basically my Aliens book is almost ready to publish, and I am so
Yay.
excited. So
Super cool.
yeah, that's I feel like that's probably a whole other episode of how you decide if
I was
if
going
you
to say
wanna-
we should do that soon. If
yeah, I
you're
agree.
going to come out with it soon, we should time that episode.
I agree. Talk about the like pros and cons of self-publishing versus traditional, and when one is preferable to the other. Like I'll just very briefly touch on the reason that I'm publishing this book about aliens is because this is a book about aliens. So I know it's not going to be any literary agent's first choice, like if you have a more out there book or a book that's just like not as popular, so it's hard to get published without an existing platform, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't just self-publish it.
You know, Ash, I hear that if you just make the book total sexy times, you can publish pretty much anything.
You know what? Maybe I should have made the alien just extremely sexual. And I think, what's gross is you are 100% right. I feel like I could totally find an agent for it if I made it like a romance, like an alien, like a steamy alien romance, but it is not, alas. It's more like funny action adventure sci-fi stuff.
Something I would like to read. I see.
Yeah. Well, something I would like to read as well. Right. So that's why I'm publishing that, is because, and also because Amazon has made it so easy. I have very conflicting feelings about Amazon. I think if you shop Amazon, try to shop small businesses on Amazon. However, as far as self-publishing goes, they have opened up so much opportunity to it. Used to be very expensive to self-publish. So it is nice that you can do it now for virtually no cost. So so that's why I'm doing that one. And we'll see how it goes. I will keep you all updated. I'm trying to get Kendall to publish hers at the same time. So maybe there'll be 2 new books birthed into the world by the end of this month.
They can be twins.
Exactly. Oh, twins. Oh, I'm going to tell Kendall that. She's going to be like, that's nice.
She's like, I don't really want to do any of this, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Well,
Cool.
Do we have anything else we need to tell our readers this week?
I can't think of anything.
Well, let me see if I
about
have any
sums it
red
up.
pen points. I don't think I do. Nope, no red pen points this week. Go us. We make no mistakes. We are perfect. That's what that means.
Obviously.
Obviously. Obvious. Today my boss said "avi" to me about something, and I was like, "What?"
Verbally?
Yes, verbally. I was like, over a meeting. I was like, "What was that?" I'm sorry. What was that?
Just makes it feel like a valley girl. Isn't your
It
boss
does.
a man?
It's so funny. Yes, but it's a California company, so
they're all like that
it was so funny though. He's so very professional all the time that I was like, that's kind of hysterical. It was adorable. It was very funny.
Nice.
Well, if you guys don't already, please follow us on Instagram and on TikTok. It's the Scripturian Society. Karissa is constantly, and I mean constantly, posting new funny videos that are very niche in the sense that if you are a writer, you will absolutely get them. And if you're not, you might not, which I keep forgetting because I keep showing my husband your TikToks and he's like, why is this funny? And I'm like, oh, Gross. You don't get it because you're not a writer, dummy.
Yeah, I show my parents and they're like, haha. I'm like, okay, moving on.
You're like, yeah, you don't get it. Okay, I see how it is. But if you guys got this far in the episode, you will get it. You'll get these TikToks.
You're either here because you like writing or because my vampire wiles worked. So
Yeah.
either way, you will like seeing me on TikTok.
Exactly. And if you guys are looking for some Halloween listening to do, That Pretentious Book Club will be doing Dracula and then not Rules of Magic, the newest Alice Hoffman book that I cannot remember the name of right now, but it's another witchy book and it's good. So for your Halloween listening, go check us out. But I believe also we're going to have Kendall, my co-host on That Pretentious Book Club, join us for an episode in the next month or so. So you guys can keep on the lookout for that too. And just lots of exciting stuff, man.
Yep.
Did I miss anything? I think
that was good.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. So if that's all, keep writing and we will see you on the next page.